yeah. We got the juice, we got the watts, ain't no way we fading. They go low and we go high. They play ego limbo on the other side. We keep humble, ain't no honor in your pride. Lying in me, lethal weapon on my side. Praise my God, promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any op, only caring about what God say. Mobbing hard with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh, all the glory to my God, yeah. Praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, they go low and we go high. They play ego limbo on the other side. We keep humble, ain't no honor in your pride. Lying in me, lethal weapon on my side. Praise my God, promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any op, only caring about what God say. Mobbing hard with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh, all the glory to my God, yeah. I did my toe and now I'm fresh, yeah. Shout out to my Abba, yeah. I follow, no regrets, yeah. They ain't learn their lesson, I'm still blessed when disrespected. Father got me eating while they out here looking packaged. Ugh, you just mad I ain't following Twitter D. Looking at me like enemy, only like in vicinity. I'm so high with the energy, yeah. You follow his way, yeah. Follow his way, yeah. Laser light show never fade, no. Ain't no stage chill. We got all night, no switch, we that bright light. On lane, we might take flight. Flight check ain't no right height. We don't fall or lose sight.
Yo, peace, 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 peace. Welcome again. This is our second broadcast for the day. I promise you that I am not going to hold my punches today. I promise you that. So we're back again. As you can tell, we're going to be talking about the first 100 days of Joe Biden. I know a lot of people are saying, well, Trump is going to come back with the Electoral College. Trump is going to come back because of the Supreme Court. Trump is going to come back. As of right now, we're not there yet. We are definitely not there yet. So until otherwise, Joe Biden is going to be the president of the United States. Now, the reason why I'm shifting gears to talking about Joe Biden's first 100 days is because it's very important that we actually look at his first 100 days and see what it is that he is going to be doing, because the first 100 days are the most important. After the first 90 days, the Senate and the House will come back after recession, and they're going to govern how they're going to govern. Mainly, I do feel like a lot of the things that he's going to do when he comes is going to all be executive orders. Also, with the executive orders, he's not going to really be able to pass anything through the Senate. Well, the House, because again, with the House, we have a Republican majority. With the Senate, things may flip depending on one of the races. Also, due to not just one because of one of the races, but things may flip due to the fact that Kamala Harris becomes another extra person for the Democratic Party. So, it's not really a toss-up as far as him passing things through the House and the Senate. Again, there is no Democrat super majority at the moment. So, and with what was told by I forgot her name. Her last name is Spanberger. She's a Democrat from here, Abigail Spanberger, who is a representative from Virginia. She came out with a phone call, which basically confirmed everything that I have been telling everybody so far about the race. And she basically was telling everybody, look, hey, I barely won. I barely won. Look how red as far as the Democratic Party is. Look how red we are in Virginia. So she was saying that the reason why, and I'm gonna get to the first 100 days. Just hold out real quick. Uh, the reason why that she barely won was because the Democrats have gone too far left. That's basically it. They're talking about defunding the police. They're talking about socialism, using the word socialism. She said we don't even need to talk about defunding the police, socialism, because they're not listening to the people. Even Democrats here in Virginia, there are Democrats here in Virginia that don't understand what defund the police means, and they shouldn't be using the term because so many people, it's such a broad term that so many people hear it and they understand it exactly for face value. So again, Elizabeth Spanberger was like, look, we're going to get demolished in 2022 if you guys do not change this rhetoric. So again, we're going to get to the topic at hand right now. Again, I want to thank anybody and everybody who has watched the last stream with Cornelius Maxwell. Definitely going to be back again. He is definitely a friend of the show. I definitely appreciate everything he has brought to the table. Bought 2 books. Might buy 2 more. Pass them out. Might even do a giveaway of the book. I don't know yet. It just depends on how we do with getting more people to watch the streams. If you're watching the streams, I definitely want you guys to be commenting in the chat, conversating with me so I can be able to know you're there. We are definitely going to be doing some giveaways, but I need more people to show up to the chat because can't do a giveaway with just one person, especially during the stream. So, yeah, we gotta get some shares. We have to get some shares of this actual stream so we can build everything up. But that's just a little bit of housekeeping. Again, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. So first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to read 2 articles. We're going to read 2 articles that I found based upon what Joe Biden actually promised in his first 100 days. Because we know that a president, when he does his first 100 days, it means a lot for the constituency because those are the most important policies to any presidency when it comes to the first 100 days. So we know that Joe Biden in himself is basically Donald Trump times 2, only blue. So one of the things is he going to do, which I already know off bat, is he's probably just going to turn around and reverse card anything that Donald Trump has already done, which it can hurt his presidency, but I don't think they really care because he knows he's not going to be a 2-term president. My biggest fear is he's not even going to be a 1-term president due to the fact that to many people, we recognize that the man is not all the way there. And we know that the Democrats are trying to push Kamala Harris as a president. That we cannot avoid that fact. That is a fact. Kamala Harris is going to vie for the presidency. Now, if that's through the 25th Amendment, it is what it is. The Democrats, we know that the Democrats played that hand because so many people on YouTube already know what time it is. So, again, your first 100 days for any president, they're going to let you know exactly what it is that they want to do. and what is the most important thing on his agenda. So this is coming from MaryClaire.com in their politics segment. And it says Joe Biden's first 100 days in office, what he's sworn to do. Before President Franklin D. Roosevelt took office, the first 100 days of a new White House administration wasn't exactly newsworthy. Before the 32nd president took his seat in the Oval Office in 1933, those 100 days were just, well, days. It wasn't until Roosevelt passed 76 laws in those first months, while also dealing with the country's crippling financial status and hosting of those famous friendside chats, that people started to realize a lot could go down if the right candidate meant business. And now that Joe Biden is president-elect, you might be wondering, what does he have planned for his first 100 days? Ahead, I broke down what the former Delaware senator promised if elected to office, all according to their campaign's vision. From reversing Trump's immigration laws to rejoining the Paris Agreement. Here's what to know. Okay, so this is the introduction of the article. I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of it because I want to illustrate to everyone exactly what he has planned in his first 100 days, and the fact that his first 100 days are probably going to be identical to President Obama, in the fact that he's not going to do anything for black people, his black constituency that got him into office in his first 100 days. So we know if he flakes on the first 100 days, he's probably not going to do anything down the line either. Because again, a lot of the things that he could be doing through a lot of the things that he wants to do, he has to go through the Senate and Congress in order to do. But again, he can do certain things for the black community if he chose to in his first 100 days. Now, he told Ice Cube he was going to talk to him after the election. His first 100 days are after the election. Ice Cube illustrated that the first 100 days shows you what a president actually wants to do with his administration, as far as the prolonged for the long term. So we have to look at his plan for what he wants to do in the first 100 days. So we're looking at it right now, and Biden's plan for the environment. We know he wants to do stuff like with the Green New Deal and stuff like that. He said he was against it, but joining the Paris Accords is still part of the Green New Deal. So it says here, host a climate world summit and discussed with leaders of the major carbon-emitting countries to join the United States in making pledges to limit their carbon footprint beyond what they already promised. Be the leading country in setting international agreements with that reduce emissions in the global shipping and aviation. Rejoining the Paris Agreement, the U.S. withdrew from on June 1st, 2017, have the Office of Science and Technology Technology Policy create a report identifying climate strategies and technologies to improve air and water quality in underfunded communities. Show public support for international legislature and take action to decrease the greenhouse gas hydrofluorocarbons, a known trigger in global warming. So we already know he wants to do all of the green things for the environment, especially with this rejoining the Paris Agreement. I mean, with the Paris Accords and the Paris Agreements, it's kind of like it's just a promise letter to try to do better. There isn't really any kind of hardcore there aren't really any kind of hardcore any measures to make any of the any of the countries who sign into it actually agree to do absolutely anything or be punished by not being punished by not doing what's in the when in agreement. Like there are no tariffs, there are no taxes, there's absolutely nothing. It's like, yeah, we promise. It's kind of like, I don't know. I just made a promise to you. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you $100 today. We make a promise. I'm going to give you $100, but you don't know where I am. You don't know where I live. You don't know any of these things. So what guarantees that I'm going to hold up to the agreement that we set up? There is no guarantee. And that's the issue with the Paris Accords, is because we're running ourselves ragged, trying to meet these standards to which nobody else is going to meet the standards because they don't have to. What's the point of joining a Paris Agreement if we don't have to? If there aren't any real, there's nothing tangible to the agreement. Nowhere in world history has there been an agreement and there wasn't anything really tangible to the agreement. So it's pointless. It's highly pointless. But let's keep going. Biden's plan for the economy. He wants to create a cabinet-level working group that will promote union organizing and collective bargaining in public and private sectors. Another cabinet level of labor representatives will be tasked to develop a solution that will increase union density and address economic inequality. The team will also work with numerous unions and trade associations to expand bargaining efforts. If you want to read more about Biden's plan for the economy, click here. So again, this is his first 100 days. We're talking about economics. We are talking about economics at this point. There's nothing in this plan for, not even with his policies about the environment, are there anything specifically for the black community and the disenfranchised communities. Poor communities could mean anyone. I know he promised to be the president for everyone, which was a cute way of saying, I'm not doing anything specific for anybody's community. I'm going to do this for everyone. To which it is a slap in the face. And you're going to find out why, because this is the first of two articles that we're going to actually read to see what it is his 100 days are going to look like. And we're going to see exactly what's going on and who specifically he is going to target in his first 100 days and why it's a slap in the face for black people, black Americans, American descendants of slavery specifically, when the only thing that we're given is a symbolic win of Kamala Harris as a black vice president when she is not a black vice president. The media is telling you she's black, but she's registered as an Indian and not a Southeast Asian Indian. She said it herself. So let's get that straight. She is not the first black vice president, though the media wants to tell you that. So let's go back. Let's read a little bit further. Biden's plan for immigration. In current asylum policies in place. Bring back case management programs while ending prolonged detentions that currently many families suffer from. Basically, he's going to do more catch and release. Reverse Trump's public charge rule that denies permanent residency to legal immigrants if they use food stamps, Medicare, housing vouchers, or any other public benefits. Now, this right here is a little charge. The way that they framed this was a little charge. The reason why it's a little charge, um, because the way that Trump actually wrote that was it's not denying them to legal immigrants. It's for people who are in the midst of getting immigration. I mean, getting their legal status for immigration. You can look it up. It's already there. It's literally clearly written for people who are illegal as well as people trying to get legal immigration status. In national emergency that allows federal dollars from the Department of Defense to build the U.S. and Mexico border wall. So basically, they don't want to bolster the. They're going to one thing they're going to do is they're going to start defunding the border wall, as well as they're going to take away the money from ICE and all of the immigration that was going on. So those detention centers, they're going to start unfunding them, defunding them. Because again, that was the complaint of those in the detention centers and those who actually work in the immigration. The complaint was that during the Obama administration, they had defunded them so much that they didn't actually have enough money to actually run these places the way that they needed to be running. That's why you had the kids in the cages, because they didn't have enough space, or they didn't have enough funding to actually house these people correctly. That was and now they're going to re-implement that. Now we're going to see kids back in cages because, again, defunding these facilities is how we got to the children in cages in the first place. Now that Trump had stopped that and got the kids out of the cages and refunded the immigration, refunded immigration, we don't have too much of that going on. We don't have that much of it going on. Who built the cages, Joe? But now he's going to rebuild them. Show support and protect dreamers and their families. Get rid of the refugee bans. Bring humanitarian resources to the border for those in need. Okay, so now we're going to start actually helping people to get across the border. The refugee bans were so that we didn't get a large influx of people coming into our country to which we can't afford them. A lot of the people that were coming across the border for the country, we can't afford them. So what is really going on with this as a whole? How are we helping our country if we can't afford the people who are here? We have people on native reservations who are starving and they don't have water, clean water. And their government assistance in itself is not helping their situation. We have poor income Black Americans who face the same thing, where they're in public housing and they can't afford, they don't have clean water and they can't afford to actually sustain themselves. But we want to bring more poor people into our country, skip the immigration process, and continue to keep them poor while they're here. That makes absolutely no sense. Every other country has strong borders or strong border policies. But to weaken our borders is a slap in the face of those who are struggling inside of our country. I digress. We're going to move forward. And still, nothing for Black Americans. Give me 1 second. So we're still moving forward. Review the countries listed in the temporary protected status. That was a thing about protecting the America from terrorist attacks. Restore sensible enforcement policies. Hold immigrations and custom enforcement, ICE and custom border protectors, CBP employees accountable for inhumane treatment. Now this is actually a slap in the face, because the reasoning for a lot of this stuff that was going on is because of the Obama administration. Defunding CBP and ICE ended up being the reason why we had issues with Border Patrol as well as customs and these facilities. But still, this is for Hispanic Americans. This whole blockchain here is for Hispanic Americans. So we're going to keep going. Use task force on new Americans to promote immigration entrepreneurship. I know you're seeing this. I know you're hearing this. This is his first 100 days. He didn't say anything about African Americans who are already here, natural born citizens who are already here. He's saying that he's going to use the task force on new Americans to promoting immigrant entrepreneurship, civil engagement, and increase access for people to learn new languages. Hold a meeting with the leaders of El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, and Canada to address the factors driving migration and propose a regional resettlement solution. So, again, the policy, they're going to use taxpayer dollars to promote immigrant entrepreneurship. Let alone, and this is in his first 100 days. Let's think about this. We're still in the coronavirus right now. Still in the coronavirus. Many Americans, as well as Black businesses, have lost their money, as well as they've lost their businesses. And you want to take the money from them that they barely have in taxpayer dollars to turn around and then help fund immigrant, not saying legal, not saying illegal immigrant, or aliens, or however you want to phrase it. I don't care. It's all the same thing. You want to use those dollars to help them, but not the people who are actually here. Nowhere in his economic policy was there a statement saying that he wanted to help Americans with their economic situation or build a task force to help them with their economic situation as it comes with our businesses. Nowhere in his first 100 days. Remember, there isn't even an economic stimulus package in his first 100 days. Nothing about PPE. Nothing at all. He's doing more for immigrants than he's doing for Americans, because they need to bolster the immigration of those from Mexico in order to bolster their share of the vote when it comes to the voting block the next voting term. This is why he's doing this in his first 100 days. The first 100 days is a thank you to those of his constituency that helped him to become president. Again, there's nothing in his policies specifically for Black Americans. Nothing. Not natural born Black Americans. Because again, the trickery of the words is, I'm a president for everybody. But he has policies specifically for certain communities. This is not these policies are not for, no, I take that back. These policies are specifically for the Hispanic community, specifically the illegal and legal Spanish community. No economic policy for Americans, no economic policies for Black Americans. Who is he doing this for? Not us. So we're going to move down, and now it gets fiery. Biden's plan for gun safety. I told you that the Second Amendment was on the ballot. I told you that. And in his first 100 days, he already has it in his mind. He's going to do gun control. Reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act that would keep firearms out of abusers' reach by closing boyfriend and stalking loopholes that continue to allow access to guns by abusive ex-boyfriends as well as stalkers that previous convictions. Now, I want to say something, because this policy is very sexist. It's very sexist, because there have been many men who have been stabbed, who have been shot, who have been ran over, who have been thrown out of windows, who have been abused. But this is for specifically women, specifically the feminist women. We're reading every single group that he's doing something for in his first 100 days. Every single group he's doing something for in his first 100 days. But I'm willing to bet, because we've read the economic policy, we read immigration, now we've also read the environmental policies. And there is nothing in here specifically for the Black community. Nothing. Because we get ran over and thrown under the bus, and we have to wait until they're ready to do something for us. But again, this is what Ice Cube and everybody else was talking about when they said the Democrats didn't want to talk to us. They said talk to us after the election. But that's been the message they had. Everybody from Charlemagne who endorsed Joe Biden later on said this. Charlemagne said that. Almost every Black public figure said that the Democrats always mistreat Black people. And now they're pandering. They pandered enough for Joe Biden, played by the book, and now they're going to be quiet about this, and I guarantee it. They're not going to say anything about it. They've already gotten him into his seat as president. The only thing they can do now is complain, but I don't want to hear the complaining once he's in presidency, because you were supposed to hold him accountable for the vote. And he never once told you he was going to do anything. But you didn't hold his feet to the fire. So how are you going to hold his feet to the fire now when he has gained power? People with power don't give away their power once they have it. Biden will have his cabinet. We're moving forward. Biden will have his cabinet look at all federal programs and focus on those likely used that have users who experience more violence in their communities. From there, the administration plans to invest funds that will support and provide more trauma-informed and cultural responsive care. What does that sound like? We already know historically any anti-gun policies are historically racist. Are historically racist. You know what this is saying, right? Because as soon as Kamala Harris was confirmed as the VP, prison stocks rose. I'm showing you the figures right here. I'm showing you the figures right here above my head. Prison stocks rose when she became VP. Prison stocks were rising when they found out that Joe Biden was going to win the presidency. And he's already telling you right now, and in his first 100 days, he's going to implement policies for people to go into the black community, because we already know they always like to use Chicago and other places as the forefront for black communities as far as it goes with as far as it goes with violence in the communities. This is nothing new. He already implemented the 95 crime bill, and he doubled down on it. So what do you think he's going to do once he's president? He's 40. He's been in government now going on a half a century, and you think he's going to change? He is not. His policies aren't going to change. The way he looks at policy isn't going to change. Nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to change. So when people complain and they have Joe Biden as their president, and they still have to go out and riot about what's going on with police enforcement, do not forget you voted for that. This is what you voted for. This is what you voted for. You didn't vote for policy. You voted because you voted for emotion. Policy is what got us in the black community where we are now. 3 strikes laws. The extension of sentences. He said it himself. He had everything in there except for hanging for jaywalking. And he was specifically talking to our community, because he said that the thugs, those are the people that he's talking about are the black and brown people, and specifically the black communities. Because when when he doubled down and he said himself, I had the Black Caucus there. I had black pastors asking me for this. So whose community was he doing this for? Was he doing this to? He was doing this to the black community. And yet again, he's going to enforce more policies that are going to enforce the over-policing of black communities, black and brown communities. And we're going to see an uprising of the amount, because to be honest, the amount of police shootings actually went down under Trump, and they did not rise. Understand that. There was a caveat to Donald Trump being who he was. Now we're back to business as usual. It's back to business as usual. So we're talking about the gun safety laws. He wants to close the Charleston loopholes that allow firearms to be purchased before the required background checks have been completed. This is the very loophole that allowed Dylan Roof to buy a gun in 2015 and killed 9 people at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston. He wants also plans to request a report from the FBI about cases that background checks were not completed within 10 days, yet guns were still purchased. From these findings, they want to develop a strategy that can eventually eliminate these occurrences. His appointed attorney general will be asked to come up with recommendations on how the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Explosives could better help enforce gun laws. So this is more gun enforcement, more gun laws. And again, this is not going to affect other communities like it's going to affect black and brown communities. It's just not. Specifically black communities. Specifically. Because a large proportion of black communities are in these poor, disenfranchised communities, and they don't do anything for them. I mean, just look at Maxine Waters' own district. She doesn't even live in her district. Maxine Waters lives in one of the worst districts ever, and it's all black and brown people, and it is a mess. And she's a Democrat. These people do not care about black people. They don't. It's not in their agenda. So we're going to move down to his plans for the LGBTQ plus community. I thought we already addressed this in the Obama administration. I thought we addressed this already in the Obama administration. Originally, it was about marriage, equality. Now we're going to be giving more rights to another community who is only less than 1% of the entire population. Why? More rights to a community, a population that is newer, that they bolstered in the forefront. Ahead of black people. So he has something specifically for women. He has something specifically for the LGBTQ plus community. He has something for specifically for the Hispanic community. Guess what? He doesn't have anything specifically for us though. In his first 100 days, because again, I'm telling you, again, the first 100 days are important because this is how his presidency is going to be ran. When Obama first got into a presidency and he did his first 100 days, guess what he did? The same thing that Joe Biden is doing. He did a lot for immigration. He did a lot for the LGBTQ community. He did a lot for women, but there was nothing on that tablet for black people. Not specifically. Because we're people of color. They use those words. We're minorities. They use those words. The urban community. They use those words so that you think you're included, but you're not included at all. You're not included. The words do not include you. They do not have any specific terminologies to speak to directly you. And that is an issue. That is the entire issue. Because you can't hold his feet to the fire if he's just talking to everybody, because he's the president for everybody. So we're going back. He plans to direct federal resources to help prevent violence against transgender women, focusing on transgender women of color. Again, women. What about the transgender men? What about men in general? Like, what about the LGBTQ men? What about them? He wants to pass the equality, and they want to give federal funding to this. They want to give federal funding to this. Again, the Republicans are not crazy when they say what they say. They're not crazy. They know the policies of the Democrats so well that they know they can telegraph exactly what they're going to do. They've already telegraphed this, but nobody wants to listen to them, all because the Democrats told you they were racist. You don't want to look on the other side of the aisle just because you're afraid that you're going to be shunned from your own community, as well as you think the other side is racist. That's sad. That's really sad. That's really sad. But it is what it is. Let's keep going. He wants to pass the Equality Act, which prohibits discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. If passed, he plans to have his cabinet enforce the act across all federal departments and agencies. I'm trying to tell you this is an attack on the First Amendment. Your freedom of speech is going out of the window if he passed this Equality Act. Because at any point, anybody can say that what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're doing and what you're saying is a hate crime. And when we start talking about things are hate crimes, that becomes an issue. That becomes a very specific issue. Because when we are actually talking about hate crimes, again, a lot of these policies started with the Civil Rights Act. It started with the Civil Rights Act. Excuse me. It started with the Civil Rights Act. So with the Civil Rights Act being about black people specifically and how disenfranchised they are, now we're going to turn it into words meaning the same thing as violence. We already know that they feel that words are violence. So anything that you say can and be used against you in the terms of discrimination. We already know this to be true because it was rampant during the Obama administration. It was very rampant during the Obama administration. But we don't care about that. We don't care about policies. We just needed to get Trump out of presidency. His plan for housing. On the first day, he plans to direct whoever is his Secretary of Housing and Urban Development to lead a task force that will ask mayors and other elected officials to detail what they believe could make housing available for everyone in their communities. The report would be due within 100 days. His Secretary of Housing and Urban Development will also review current federal housing policies to make sure they apply to Biden's Housing First approach. This document will also look into homelessness assistance grants and results they can provide to communities. Now, I don't have an issue with this. What he's saying is the policy. I don't have an issue with the policy as it stands. What I do have an issue with is the fact that he did not say anything about his first 100 days, and we were in the coronavirus, and he still has not said anything about what he's going to do about people who have already gotten evicted due to the inefficiency of our government at the time during the beginning of the coronavirus, which actually created this mess in the first place. And even though you might have grants for people who are homeless now, the homelessness is growing due to the fact that it's still inefficient. The government is still inefficient in acting to help people not lose their homes. The referendum was needed. It was a necessity. But they didn't think it was a necessity, so they didn't do anything about it. Nancy Pelosi said she was holding out. And we know why she was holding out. She was holding out because she thought they were going to have a supermajority and she was going to be able to pass whatever she wanted to pass. And now we've gotten to the point where we don't even know if we're actually going to even get a stimulus, if we're going to even get these tax referendums. These eviction referendums. We don't know anything. Again, she destroyed our country fiscally. All because she wanted her way, instead of taking what we could get at the moment. Because again, if she felt so so if she felt so good about the fact that she knew Joe Biden was going to win and they knew that they were going to have a super majority, she could have passed that long ago and then passed whatever she wanted to pass later on. But again, they were trying to get rid of Trump, and they don't understand. You tried to get rid of Trump, you got rid of Trump, but you lost. And now, in your first 100 days, you're not going to do anything to address the issues that happened before you became president. And again, he's not doing anything for black people. He's not going to do anything for black people. Biden vows to pass LGBTQ rights legislation in his first 100 days. This is NBC News. We already heard this. Equality Act. Again, where is anything in here for black people specifically? He got something in here for the LGBTQ community. He got something in there for the Hispanic community. He has something in there for women. But he doesn't have anything in there for black people other than more enforcement on their communities. That's a huge middle finger to everyone who voted for him. But again, I didn't vote for this man. You did. So this is the policy that y'all voted for. I'm not mad. It is what it is. Because again, those low-income black people who voted for Joe Biden due to the fact that he looks like he's a representation of Obama all over again, is going to get him policies that Obama put in place also. Again, Kamala Harris is super cop. She does not care whether you get locked up or not. She was willing to lock up black and disenfranchised communities if their kids didn't show up to school on time. Let's be clear about that. He doubled down on the 95 crime. This man does not care about locking up more black people and creating more issues for the black community, because guess what? They can just open the borders up and have as many Hispanics in this country as they need to be able to fill in for those black people that are incarcerated and losing their voting rights. He didn't say anything about the first in bolstering the Second Step Act. He didn't say anything about bolstering the First Step Act for prison reform. He didn't say anything about that. I am willing to bet he's going to roll back policies concerning the First Step Act. I'm willing to bet it because it was a Trump policy. And what Trump did was dismantle everything that Obama tried to do. The only thing he didn't get a chance to dismantle was Obamacare. And guess what? We already know what's going to happen next with that. He already said, I'm going to turn Obamacare into Biden care. So we're going to get the same thing, but worse. He's going to make people who've already lost their jobs and are barely going to get anything back on their taxes pay something on top of that. On top of that, he's going to make you pay more on top of the fact you're not getting nothing for your taxes. All because you don't have health insurance, which is a huge subsidy for insurance companies. Socialized medicine is not going to help this situation. How are we going to pay for it? Oh, you're going to try to overtax those millionaires and billionaires on Wall Street. You know, the same people that you rub hands with all of the time. Knowing that they're not going to do anything but leave the country again and create another deficit for American workers. You're going to stop fracking and stop oiling by 2025 for new energy. When that means the leaders of new energy right now are Chinese. Oh, I forgot. Joe Biden already has a relationship with China. China's not bad, man. They're not that bad, man. So who you think is going to come over here and do all of this new technology? It's not going to be Americans. He's not going to create an economic. He's not going to create some kind of economic environment to which it's going to actually create something positive for the American workers who are going to lose their jobs because the transition of power was too fast for the economy to make up for that timing, as well as make up for the amount of jobs that are necessary and the education of those workers that is necessary for us to move to new energies. Come on, man. China's not that bad. You know what else is about what's going on with China? China's also taking over Africa. Yeah. I bet you didn't hear that on the news. I bet you didn't hear that on the news. Where China is buying up countries in Africa, loaning them money to keep them in debt. And when a country has a debt to another country, guess what happens? They take over. I think people don't really understand what is going on and why voting for policies is so important. You allow the news to manipulate you in ways that it should not have. To get a presidential candidate that nobody really likes. All because the media charged you and gaslit you this entire time about President Trump, and they pulled the old switcheroo on the black community. They pulled the old switcheroo on the black community, and again, we get nothing. They're going to say we're going to do nothing, but again, as we can see with its policies during the first 100 days, he has nothing for you. Nothing. But, you know, y'all don't care. Y'all just needed the racists out of presidency to get the racists in presidency. This is what you voted for. This is what you voted for. As it stands, I don't want to hear anything about Black Lives Matter ever again. I don't want to hear about the disenfranchisement in the school to prison pipeline. I don't want to hear anything about the incarceration rate. I don't want to hear anything about anything dealing with the black community, because apparently the black community voted for someone who is going to bolster the issues within the black community and or just dismiss them and let them continue to happen. All because the media gaslit you and made you emotional about things, especially policies that actually helped our community. Even though the policies were not specifically for our community, many of the policies affected our community in a very, very positive way. The job market came back, ironically, on the day that they said President-elect Joe Biden had won the election. It said the job market was down. GDP was up. All of these good things that Trump had done, the approval rating, everything was good. And now you're about to see exactly what is to come with the Democrats holding the presidency. Because he's going to definitely put pen to paper if he hasn't already done it. Especially with him and Kamala Harris. Yeah, man. It is what it is. I'm not saying the country is going to burn down because, again, we survived a lot. But it is what it is. Love you guys, man. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Peace.